In this tutorial, we are going to discuss the solution of all the 10 questions that we have added in the test series of function of one variable. Okay. So this is question number 1 and this is our question. So let n be a set of natural numbers and the function f is given as n tends to n. Like n is the domain and n is the range, right? We define by f of n 2n plus 3 for all n belonging to R. Then f is surjective, bijective, injective, none of this. But first, we should know what is surjective, what is bijective, and what is injective. So I have shared the notes, and in that I have shared this information about types of function important for GATE DA exam, right? So in this you can see what is one to one. So injective is also called as one to one function. For a function f defined to be one to one or injective function, okay. So what is the main condition for this one to one function? For any value of x1 belonging to x1 and x2 belonging to x, if there exists f of x1 equals to f of x2, then it implies that x1 equals to x2. Okay. If this particular condition is satisfied for a particular function, then we can say it is injective. For a unique value of x1, we have a unique value of f of x1, right? This is what one-to-one function is. Now, what is onto function? That is surjective function. For a function f is said to be onto or surjective if every element of y is the image of some element of x under f. Oh, so what does this mean? Like for every y belonging to a range, there exists an element x belong to a domain such that f of x equals to y. Okay, so we'll see what how we can apply this thing to this particular question. And what is bijective function? The function which is both injective and surjective, that's onto and one. Then we can say it is bijective function, right? Now the f of x is given to us, f of n is given to us as 2n plus 3, right? Now let us check for first injective function. Okay, so if f of x1 equals to f of x2, then x1 must be equals to x2, right? So just put here instead of n, just put x. So f of x1 equals to f of x2. So what I will get? Twice of x1 plus 3, twice of x2 plus 3, right? So this 3 will get cancelled. 2 will get cancelled. So I will get x1 equals to x2, right? So this is the so my condition for injective function is satisfied. So I can say my this particular function is injective, right? But we need to check for surjective also because bijective is there. So this is also possible option, right? Now we need to check for surjective. Okay. Now how to check for surjective function? For every y belonging to this particular range, there exists an element x belong to a domain. Okay, then we can say f of x equals to y. Now just consider this f of x equals to y, right? So this is basically a f of n, right? Now just consider this y equals to f of n, okay, and which is equals to twice of n plus 3. Now try to bring the equation of n equals to in terms of y. So what I will get, n equals to y minus 3 divided by 2, right? Now according to this particular condition, because our domain and the range is natural numbers, right? That is 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. And what we are saying, for every y belonging to this range, right? For every y, there must exist an element x belonging to this particular domain, right? But here it is n to n. So in this case, our n and f of n, that is basically our y, must be a natural number. And this should satisfy for every y in this particular range. Now, if I just put y equals to 1, okay, okay, because this is natural number 1, right? If I put y equals to 1, so what I will get? 1 minus 3 equals to 2. That is basically a minus 1. So is it a natural number? No. What about y equals to 2? So if I put y equals to 2, right, then it becomes minus 1 by 2, right? So this minus 1 and minus 1 by 2 is not belonging to a this particular domain of a f of x. That is what given to us, right? X belonging to x. So then I can say this is not a surjective function. This is not a surjective function. It is injective function only. So if it is not a surjective, it means it is not a bijective function. So the correct option is injective function. Okay, so I hope you understand this particular concept. Please go through the notes. Okay, so for this particular topic, function of one variable, I will recommend you to go through a notes first. Okay, so simple topic, but you just need to go through it once. Okay, so the correct option is option number C, that is injective. Now in this question, second question, we have to find the domain of the following function. Okay. So domains means what? Domain of a particular function means what are the possible values it can take. Possible values that function can take, that f of x can take. That is basically domain, right? So when this f of x is not defined for a real valued function, first thing is that the denominator must not be equals to 0. So x square minus 9 should not be equals to 0, right? So when this will become to equal to 0, when x square equals to 9 and x equals to plus minus 3, right? So when x equals to plus minus 3, then this function is not defined, okay? So from the option, we can say our x should not be equals to 3. Otherwise, this function is not defined, right? So x is not equal to 3. So this can be possible option. This is not a correct option, and this is also not a correct option, right? So x must not be equal to 3. Then only option A and C is possible. Okay. So this information we got when we say x square minus 10 means our denominator should not be equals to 0. Now what about numerator? So we have x plus 2. So when we can say how the function is a real valued function, when the square root of this particular, when the square root is positive, okay, then only we'll get the real number. Otherwise, if the square root is negative, then we'll get the imaginary number. It is a complex number, right? So our square root, our value of square root must be a positive. So when this can be positive, when x is greater than or equal to minus 2. Okay, so here you can see if x is greater than equal to minus 2, means if x is equals to minus 2 plus 2, so it will be 0. If x is equal to minus 1, it will be a 1. So every time it is positive for this particular condition. But what about this? X is less than minus 2. So if I put minus 3, then in that case it will be minus 3 plus 2. So it will be minus 1 under root. So this is not a real valued function, right? So only correct option is option number A. Okay. So this is how we can solve this particular question. Okay. So now question number 3. Okay. Now in this question, the function is given to us having the range and a domain is z. So what is z here? So z is basically a integer numbers, right? Integers. So this function f of x is defined for only integers function. So whenever z means integer functions, r means all real numbers, okay? N means natural number, and if there is q, it means irrational number. It means rational number, okay? Rational number, and p means irrational number. So I hope you know what is integer, what is real number, natural number, rational number, irrational number. Okay. So this symbol indicate these things only. So now f is z to z as follows f of x. So now we need to check whether it is one to one or on to. So how to check one to one function first is for f of x1 must be equals to f of x2 for x1 equals to x2, right? For all x1 equals to x2, and right. But if you observe here, if x is odd, the value of f of x is 0, right? So it doesn't matter what is the value of x, it will always be a 0, right? For example, x1 equals to 3, so value of f of x will be 0 because for all odd it is 0. What about x2? Sorry, x1 equals to 5, f of x is also equals to 0. So this is not satisfied by this particular condition of 1 to 1 because f of x equals to f of x, right? So this is f of x1, f of x2. Now x1 is 3, x2 is 5. So we are getting 0 equals to 0. So this condition is satisfied. But our condition is for x1 equals to x2, then only f of x1 equals to f of x2. Means for every unique value of x1, there must be a unique value of f of x1 also. But this condition is not getting satisfied here, right? F of x is 0 for x equals to 3 also. F of x is 0 for x equals to 5 also. It means it is not one to one function. It is not injective function, right? So this is not injective function or one to one function. So we can directly eliminate B is not one to one function, right? So not one to one. So option B can be possible. One to one, no, this is not correct. One to one, no, this is not correct. Neither one to one nor on to. So we need to check for option B and option D, right? So it is not one to one function, but it can be on to function that we need to check. And what about onto function, right? For all values of y, for all values of y, right? Like for every values of y belonging to z, right? There must exist f. There must exist x. Okay. So here let's say y equals to x of 2, right? And y equals to 0 when it is odd, and this is for even, right? So in this case, y equals to 0 for x is odd. This function is onto, because for every value of y, the the function will be 0 only, right? So there must exist x. So that is 0, right? So 0 belongs to integers number, right? So that is satisfied. So this is okay, right? Now what about x by 2? Y equals to x by 2. So I can write it as x equals to twice of y, right? Now what we can say, for every y belonging to integer, there must exist an x for this particular domain. So it doesn't matter whatever the value of y is, it always be integer value of x, right? Because y is also an integer z here. So if I change the value of y to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter. The value of x will always be an integer because it's just a twice of that particular number. Then I can say this function is onto. So our correct option is onto, but not 1 to 1. Okay. So this is the correct option. So I hope you understand this particular concept. Now next question. Okay, so let f is from all real function, all real numbers to real numbers. Define f of x equals to sin x. Okay. Here also g defined for r to r, and we defined as x square, right? Then fog we have asked. What is fog here? So f of g of x, right? And what is gof? So g of f of x, right? So we'll see, we'll calculate both, but first we calculate fog also here. So what is fog? Fog is f of g of x. Okay, so what is f of x first? F of x is sine of x. And what is f of g of x? So just replace x by g of x. So f of g of x will be sine of g of x, right? So this is basically my fog, right? And what is sine of g of x? Sine of g of x, x square, that is x square. So sine x square. So fog will be sine of x square. So option C will be the correct. Okay. And what about gof? Same thing. Let's consider g equals to. So g of x is basically x square. So what is g of f of x? It is basically f of x square, right? What is f of x? That is basically a sin x. That is sin x square. So if we ask for gof, then answer will be option A. But if we ask for fog, the option is answer C. Okay, that is sin x square. So please remember this point, important point, but okay, so important thing, but you just need to remember it. Okay, so I think this is simpler. Now next question. Now we need to find out the range of a particular following function. So range means whatever the possible output that this function can give. Okay, so for example, we have y equals to under root of 16 minus x square, right? So what will be the range of this particular following function? And these are the options, right? Now here you can see we have this square bracket and this round bracket, right? Now this square bracket means, for example, 1 comma 2. So this 1 is included in the particular range, and this 2 is included in the particular range or a domain. But if I say round bracket 1 comma 2, this 1 and 2 is not included. Okay. But if we say square bracket, then 1 and 2 are included. Okay. Now what will be the range of this particular following function? So first we need to calculate the domain of this, right? Domain of y. Okay. So how to calculate domain of y? Domain of y means whatever the possible value that x can take in order to y, it should be defined. So we know this is under square, right? So we know y equals to, this is square root, right? So value must be positive inside the square root. So 16 minus x square must be greater than 0, right? So for which number it will be 0. So 16 minus x square equals to 0. So 16 minus equals to x square. So x will be plus minus 4. That is x equals to uh, minus 4 or plus 4. Now just put x equals to minus 4. If we put x equals to minus 4, what we will get? 0, right? And so our this particular function is defined for minus 4 to 4, right? So minus 4 to plus 4, right? But if I put minus 4, the answer will be 0. If I put plus 4, the answer will be still 0, right? So when I will get the maximum value of this y, when I will get this maximum value of this y, when x will be my 0. So when x equals to 0, what will the value? Under root of 16, that is 4, right? So the range of this particular function is from 0 to 4, right? From 0 to 4, and both are included. Okay. So I hope you got this particular concept. Okay. So nothing in it. First, we need to find out the domain, and after that, we need to find out the range of a particular function. Okay. So this is a simple function. F of x is given to us. We have to find out f of x plus 1 upon plus f of 1 by x. So simple calculation is there. Nothing in it. Just x cube minus 1 by x cube plus 1 upon f of 1 by x, right? So just replace x by 1 by x. So in this case, I will get 1 by x cube minus 1 by x will be this cube, right? So this is plus. So this will get cancelled, and minus x cube and x cube will get cancelled. The value will be option number A, that is 0 only, right? So simple question. Find the domain of the function f given by this particular thing. So domain, same thing. So here we need to find out the domain. So domain means what, right? So this function must be defined. So we know when this function will be defined, when this particular denominator should not be equals to 0, right? Should not be equals to 0. And the value of this square root must be positive. Means x square minus x minus 6 must be greater than 0. And this should not be equals to 0. So these are the two conditions. Okay. Now let us check for the first condition, this one. So how I can factorize this? So it will be x minus 3 and x plus 2 equals to 0. So x equals to 3, not square, and x equals to minus 2. So these are the root of this particular equation. So my when x equals to 3, the value will be 0, and when x equals to minus 2, the value will be also 0, right? In that case, I will get 0, under root of 0 will be 0, and this function will not be defined. So this 3 and minus 2 is not included in the domain. Please remember, this 3 and minus 2 is not included in the domain. Okay. And what about this? So when it will not be equals to 0, when value of x equals to 3 and y equals to minus 2 will be 0, right? So now let's check the options. The first option, x belongs to square bracket, that is close bracket, that is minus 2. So minus 2 is included in that. So we don't want, so minus 2 is not included, right? So this will not be a correct option. What about option B? X belong to minus 2 and 3. Yes, so both are not included. Union of from 3 to infinity. Yes, so it can take any value greater than 3 also. Then it will be positive. So my x must be greater than 3 and x must be greater than minus 2. Okay. So this means that from minus 2 to 3 I can have. Yes. And after that from 3 to infinity. So this will be a correct option because 3 is not included in it. At particular 3, this function is not defined. Okay. So my domain will be x must be greater than 3 and x must be greater than 1 by minus and x must be greater than minus 2. So option will be B. What about this? 3 is included, right? So not correct option. What about this? No, it is not a correct one because for other values of x also it is defined. If I put x equals to 5, still it is defined, right? So that's the case. So option B is the correct one. What about question number 8? So consider f and g having domain A and range B, same having domain B and range C. We have two functions. Then the composite of f and g denoted by GOF is defined as A tends to C, like A tends to C. Which of the following statement is correct, right? So you need to remember this. If A and G, if f and g are 1 to 1, then GOF A tends to C will also be 1 to 1 because here you can see this is the range of A and this same is the domain of G, right? The range of A is equal to the domain of G, then we can say GOF is defined. GOF is defined, that is A tends to C, and it is also one-to-one function. What about second option? This is correct. Okay, please remember this point. B, same thing. R12 then go off is 1 to 1, not correct. Uh, R1 to 1 then go off is on to, this is also not correct. So F and G are on to then go off is also on to, this is correct. But for this, right? So for this, the range of F must be equals to domain of G, then only this go off is defined. Okay. So please remember this important point. So you can just note it down. So option A and D are correct here. Okay. Question number 9. A simple question based on odd and even function. So when I can say the function is odd or even, when f of x, okay, suppose f of x is a function, right? And if I replace x by minus x, if I replace x by minus x, and I'm getting the same function f of x, then I can say it is an even function. This is an even function, right? For example, x square, right? If I replace x square by minus x square, what I will get? X square only. So x square is an even function. What is odd function? If I replace x by minus x, I am getting minus f of x, right? So this is for odd function. Then I can say it is a odd function, okay? And this for even function. For example, f of x equals to x cube. So if I replace x by minus x, so here it will be minus x cube. So that will be a minus f of x. So minus x cube is a odd function, okay? Simple. Only these two important points are there. Just replace x by minus x and see if you are getting f of x or not. Same thing. Then it is an even function. Or if you are getting minus f of x, then it is an odd function. Okay. Now let's try to solve this particular question. So first function f of x. So it is odd function. So just replace f of x by minus f of x. What I will get? Minus x to the power 4 minus plus minus x. So I will get x to the power 4 minus x. So this is not minus f of x and also not equals to f of x. So this is not an odd function also, not an even function also. So option A is not correct. What about this? Just replace x by minus fx, right? So minus x cube minus x. So sorry, plus of minus x, right? So what I will get? Minus x cube minus x. So I can say I can take minus common. If I take minus common, it will be x cube plus x. Now this is basically minus f of x, right? Then I can say this is a even function or odd function. This is a odd function. Okay. So this is a odd function. So f of minus x is equals to minus f of x. This is a odd function. Okay. Odd function. This is neither odd, neither even. So what about C? So what about C? So just replace f of x by minus x. So what is cos of minus x? You should know, right? Minus sine of minus x square, right? So cos of minus x basically a cos x minus sine of minus x square. It's x square only, right? So sine of x square. Now this is equals to f of x. It is a even function. So option C is correct. Okay. Not option A, not option B. Option C is correct. What about option D? Just replace f of x by minus x. So cos of minus x, right? Minus sine of minus x square, right? So cos of minus is basically cos x minus sine of minus x basically a minus sine x, right? Square. So it will be a cos x minus square will be plus only. So minus sine x whole square. So this is equals to f of x. So this will be my even function. Okay. So only option C is correct in this case. Okay. Okay. Now let's try to solve this particular example. This is question number 10. So we need to find the domain of the particular function f of x, and f of x is given to us. Okay, and it's valid for all the real numbers. Now, how to find out the domain of this particular f of x? It means whatever the possible value this particular function can take, right? So this is square root, right? So square root cannot take the negative value, right? Negative value that we all know, because it will not be in the range of this particular function, that is all real number, right? So it will be a complex or imaginary number, right? It will be a complex or imaginary number, right? Negative of under root, right? It means that my x square minus 3x plus 2 must be greater than 0, right? For all the cases, then only I will get this particular f of x will be belong to all the real number. So this must be positive, right? So this must be positive. So at what point this will become positive or 0? So let's try to solve this particular question expression. So let's try to solve this particular expression. So x square minus 3x plus 2 equals to 0. That means I will get x minus 2, x minus 1 equals to 0, right? So x equals to 2 or x equals to 1, right? So when x equals to 2, it means this value will be 0, or x equals to 1, it means this value will be 0, right? So 0 is also fine, right? So under root of 0 is basically 0 only, right? So this is also valid, real numbers, right? So x and 2 is are included in the domain of a particular function, right? So if I go by this particular option, option number A, so it will take minus infinity to 1. So 1 is included, that is fine, right? Union of 2 to infinity, 2 to infinity, 2 is also included, but from 1 to 2, right? When x is between 1 and 2, in that case, what will happen, right? So x is between 1 and 2, greater than 1 but less than 2. In that case, what will happen? This will become negative, right? So value of my this particular f of x is negative when x is between greater than 1 but less than 2. Okay, so at this particular point f of x will be negative, right? This expression will be negative, so this is not defined, so in the domain it is not considered. So the correct option will be answer option A only. What about option B? So 1 and 2 are not included in this, so that is not correct. This is not correct, okay, because it is not defined when x is greater than 1 and less than 2. What about this? This is also not correct. So only option A is correct. Okay. Thank you.